This is the second in our SharePoint basic training for casual business users put on by SP Marketplace. If you've taken our introductory training, you'll understand that SharePoint is really a website kind of turned internally and can be used for collaboration, sharing things, organizing documents and data, and a number of other things too. But let's take a look at the SharePoint site. And the SharePoint site is made up of different components, as we talked about in our last training. But what you'll find is there's key things you need to understand how to use when using a SharePoint solution. And that really is around navigation, how to navigate around a SharePoint site or site structure, as well as using documents and data in what is called SharePoint lists. So let's first take a look at navigation. Now this is this is the IT portal, but the key thing here is when you look at any SharePoint page, there is two areas of navigation. There's what's called global navigation, and that's really the navigation of the different site structure overall. This would be your intranet, your departments, your groups, and so on. And then there is site navigation menu. So there's global navigation and site navigation. And in this menu actually points you to different resources and things within the site. This happens to be the IT portal. So let's take a look at what this looks like. Here I am in the IT portal. And as we can see, we have top navigation as well as the side navigation here. So if I wanted to, for instance, get back to the intranet, or if I wanted to get to the home page of the site, I can click on the icon here. If I wanted to go, excuse me, to another department, there's drop downs in the global navigation, as well as other things here. So this is where you actually navigate through the site structure. On the left-hand side are things that are resources within this site. And so I might have things like help desk cases, I might have asset tracking, and so on. And by clicking on one of these, it takes me to that resource. And in this case, it's a list of computer assets. So navigation, quite simply, is getting to either a site or information that you want to use. Also, you will find that navigation in our products may show different things to different people. So for instance, we see admin here. I happen to be in the admin permission group, and I can get to different things. But if you're just in the staff permission group and not an admin, you won't see this. So there may be cases where one person sees one set of menus, whereas another person may not, based on their role. The second area we'll cover is document libraries. And this is a major use of SharePoint. And in a document library, it's exactly what it describes here. It's a place to store documents. And very much like your computer, it's set up the same way, where you can have an overall library. Let's say it's a policies library. And maybe you wanted to split the different policies out by function or department. So HR policies are in a folder here, finance are in another folder, and safety's in another folder as well. In libraries, you can always search across the library, which we'll show you in a minute. And it actually searches all contents, not just the title of the document. So you have to watch it. You could actually end up having very wide searches. And then you can also list the different documents. You can browse the different documents in the library. Now, document libraries are a little bit different when organizing your documents than, say, on your computer. Because in the document library, you can actually have something called metadata. And think of these as fields or properties that describes the attributes of the file or document. So if we take a look at, perhaps that policy library, we might have an employee handbook in there. We'll have information on here about who it was created by, who was it modified by, maybe the type of document, the department it's for, and even a region that the employee is in that this applies to. And if we also look at another document, the safety document, you'd have the same basic information, but also this one happens to be for the safety department, which I forgot to put safety here. And then finally, a travel policy might be something that is related to expense expenses, and the finance department has that there too. So these are all fields that then you can actually sort by, filter by, and so on when you're looking at a list of documents. Let's go take a look at what a document library looks like. So here I am back in our IT portal, and under the staff heading here, there is shared documents. These are documents that are shared across the IT staff. And if I open up the document library, what we'll see is a list of documents as well as a list of folders. And so I can go ahead and open up a folder just by clicking on it here and see any contracts or anything in there. I don't see anything's in there. I could go back and click up here to get me back to the overall document libraries. If I want to open something up, I can just click on it and it will open up the document here in Word or whatever it might be as well too. And of course, the other thing too, I can actually sort this by related asset. This is a metadata library. I could do it by an asset ID. There might be other things such as the type of document or other things here. In fact, instead of having these folders, I could actually create a field called document type and just look at contracts, policies, or warranties. Now, if I want to add to a document to the document library, I can either hit upload and upload a file, and you can also upload templates here, and I'll just go to my documents and I'll just pick a file here and open, and we see over here that it is uploading one item. You can also go in and add documents by just dragging them over here. So here is a document, and I could also go and just drag it and drop it. And in fact, you could drag and drop many different documents as well too. You can even sync the documents with your computer because you can actually sync document libraries in SharePoint with folders on your computer as well. So working with documents libraries is very easy. You also have other things that you can do. You can set up check-in, check-out. You can actually share documents with different people and so on, but that's a little more advanced. Your SharePoint administrator or your SP application administrator can show you some of these things too as well. Now, a second kind of resource in a SharePoint site is a SharePoint list. This is actually data. And you can relate this to, when we take a look at lists, it's a list of data. And however, there are different kinds of lists already built into SharePoint. So this is just a basic data list here. But also there are other kinds of lists, like a calendar type list, as well as task lists. You can see there's task checkoffs and a timeline. So SharePoint lists is not just one single type of list, but there can be several types of lists, and you can look at them in different ways. And really, if you want to relate it to something, what SharePoint lists really are for is tracking data, and it works very much like an Excel spreadsheet. So here's an Excel spreadsheet with our office locations in here. If I were to go look at the SharePoint list, we can see also that we have different locations and so on, except that I could actually go in and sort by these. I could also do different views and group these and everything else, something you can't do in Excel. And that's one of the benefits of using SharePoint. Now, each list also, you don't just enter it in through the spreadsheet, but you could, there is a view. But you actually have forms related to the list. You have usually a new item form. You have a display form, okay, and you have a edit form. So you actually change the data using forms on the list, and the forms can actually change a little bit depending on what you want to do with them, which is, again, something you can't necessarily do with Excel without some programming too. Let's go take a look at how you might use a SharePoint list. So here we are in our again, in our portal. And I'm actually going to go to the cases list. Now, I could either go here, or I could also go here for that. Now, we also have some lists actually on this page. This is a list of links. There's a list behind this. Here is a calendar out here, and here's a list of department news. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to the cases list, and these are help desk tickets. Okay, this is our cases list. This is called a list view in SharePoint. And so whenever you're looking at data, it comes in a list view. Now, there's actually different types of list views. Actually, you can look at this list as a calendar. You can actually look at it as almost like cards, each one of these being a card. But this is the most standard list view that you will see data in. And you can relate it. It's almost like a spreadsheet, and each one of these is a row in a spreadsheet. But these are called items in a data list. So what we have is there are fields in a data list. These are each fields in the data list. And you can actually go in and, for instance, sort and filter by this. So I could sort descending, which would put all the assigned ones at the top here, or the closed ones then assigned. Actually, it's descending because this is number 4 as well. And I could say I also only want to see or filter the list here, and I could say I only want to see unassigned cases. And now it's only showing me unassigned cases. You can even go to a second field and say I only want to see cases related to a laptop. And I can go and say filter by cases, and I just want to see laptop, or I could select multiple, and I'll apply this. So what I'm doing is I'm filtering down what I want to see in the list. Now I could even go in and have these sorted by category here, or even grouped by category. So I could go here and I could say group by case category. And what it will actually do is it will actually group them in groupings by the different categories of cases. Now I can even go in and group them by something. So I'm going to go ahead and group them by case category. So I drop down here and say group by case category. And now you can see that there are groups here. So the great thing about SharePoint and looking at list data is you can look at it in many different ways. And then I could even go in and take this view that I just created and save this view, and I'll call it cases by subcategory. And I'm going to save this, and I'm going to make a view that everybody will see. So there we go. And the view will show up in the different views over here. So that's the nice thing too, is if I want to go in and look at views, say I wanted to look at cases by status, I can select this, and here are all cases by status. Now these are probably going to be all set up for you in different ways, and then even when you do different views, you could even go in and filter them any way you want. So you can actually hit the filter here and see all the things you might want to filter versus just a certain field. So I might want to see all the ones that are assigned to Daryl Trimble, and all the ones where the case type is a problem, and I might want to see all case ones that are assigned here as well, that are assigned to Daryl Trimble. And you can see here the different selections that we've done. And to get rid of this, I do this. And if I want to go back to all cases, I can go back to all items. So that's the great thing, is you can go ahead and do these things very easily with the list and manipulate the list to see the data in the way that you want. Now, let's say I wanted to create a new case. All I have to do is go up here and hit New. And it will bring up a new case form. Okay, and here is a case, and if I were to put in a case like slow laptop, and it automatically knows who I am, and it happens to be a laptop problem, and I'll just say my laptop is slow when I have 21 apps open at once. Okay, so that's how you actually create a new item. And I hit save. Now I can also go in and look at existing items, but I can look at them and just not change them, but just look at the data. So I could go in here, select laptop is slow here, and it will show me the form, and this is called the display form. And so I can see information here. There are tabs that I can see additional information as well. And if I wanted to edit it right from here, I can select edit. But I'm going to go ahead and close this and go back to the cases list. And I'm going to actually do something different here. I'm going to go in, and here's the network is slow in my office. Let's say I wanted to edit this. I select this that I want to edit, and I hit edit over here. And this will allow me to actually go in and change the data in the form. And so here is another form here, but this is another item. But you can see it looks very much like the other forms, but you can have more tabs and stuff show up only for editing. So I might go in here and put in a work log entry that says network had a blip. And that's all I may want to do, and I hit save. And now it will be entered in that. So what we've done is we've shown you how you can actually manipulate the data, sort the data, filter the data, group the data as well. You can look at different views of the data or reports. Sometimes people call these reports too. And those are often made up for you, but you can also create new ones and save new ones over here too. Now, there's one other way that you can also do some quick editing. So let's say you didn't want to have to open up every one of these. There's this quick edit up here. If you do that, it will look more like a spreadsheet. And the nice thing is, for instance, here there was no category. I could go in and say this was a network category or Wi-Fi LAN subcategory from networking. I could also go in and change this. Say it was a problem. The cool thing is I can go here and actually I see that this doesn't have the case type yet. I could actually go in here and copy this. I'm hitting Control C, and I could select this and paste it. Control V, and I could do that in many things. So it's just like Excel, where I could select many different things and populate. So this is a way to change many items at once here. Now you got to be careful because it won't save anything. If you go backwards or whatever, it won't save this. You have to say exit quick edit, and it will make those changes. Okay, and depending on your permissions, you may see this. You could actually export all of this data to an Excel file. Okay, so that has been working with lists. And now this has been working with SharePoint, and it should give you the introduction that you need to being able to maneuver around a SharePoint site, to get to other sites, to work with libraries and files as well, and overall getting you familiar with working with SharePoint.